We achieve these goals of collaboration through the co-teaching cycle. If you've seen this image before, you know the message is that each phase of the co-teaching cycle emphasizes a collaborative partnership to maximize teacher effectiveness and support students' learning experiences in its entirety. Co-planning, co-instruction, co-assessment, and co-reflection each contribute to the successful implementation of this collaborative model of instruction. Neglecting any one phase will disrupt the balance of the entire cycle. So how do we implement co-teaching with integrity? Co-teaching experts, authors, and international presenters, Andrea Honigsfeld and Maria Dove, have this to say about co-teaching. For co-teaching to work, teachers must engage in a complete instructional cycle of collaboration, which consists of 4 interrelated phases: collaborative planning, instruction, assessment, and reflection. So with this quote in mind, let's take a look at each phase of the co-teaching cycle.
Starting out with collaborative planning or co-planning, it is a commitment that both teachers must make in order for co-teaching to be most effective. Co-planning is not only a best practice and key component of the co-teaching cycle, but it also ensures that both teachers take ownership over the plans. Both teachers create them, so both teachers are responsible for the preparation and delivery of the lessons. Additionally, each co-teacher brings a unique perspective and area of expertise that is invaluable to supporting Ls. During co-planning, you may choose to focus on some of the key questions, such as, what are we teaching? Thinking about the standards, the lesson objectives, content and language, the vocabulary and language needed. How will we teach it? Thinking about step-by-step lesson procedures and activities, and the co-teaching models that would be employed to best support that instruction. How will we know if students understand? You may wish to employ the use of exit tickets or other such formative assessments to answer that question.
In our conversations with co-teachers, the most common feedback that we receive are concerns of the lack of co-planning time. As we stated earlier, each phase of the co-teaching cycle should be implemented with fidelity if we expect to reap the benefits that research has shown us co-teaching provides. So we understand this is a tall order, and we wanted to offer some of these tips, with the most important being the reminder to be flexible, be prepared, and be open-minded. We also want to provide you with some tools that might facilitate this process.
So here are some lesson planning templates that we encourage you to explore with your co-teachers. We also are including a digital unit planning template, which we adapted to address the distinct components and concerns of co-planning to support Ls in virtual spaces. So these templates can be used to plan at the daily, weekly, and unit level.
So co-instruction can take many forms, but usually conforms to one of the 7 co-teaching models recommended in support of integrated ENL for English language learners. So we wanted to point out that deciding which model to use should be part of the discussion between teachers during the co-planning phase. Once the entire lesson has been planned, you can begin to consider which model you will use based on which is best for the lesson activities. Skim through the lesson plan, stopping and occasionally to ask yourselves which approach will best meet the objectives and needs of the students for this part of the lesson. For this reason, during any one lesson, you may actually move fluidly from one co-teaching model to another. So let's take a closer look at the co-teaching models. The first 3 models on the screen each employ whole group instruction. Models 1 and 3 have one co-teacher leading instruction. In model 1, the second co-teacher is either teaching on purpose by providing specific support to an individual or small group of students. In model 3, the second co-teacher is collecting data by assessing student work. Model 2, sometimes called teaming, also involves whole group instruction. However, in this model, both co-teachers are leading instruction.
On this screen, we see models 4, 5, and 6, which each involve 2 student groups with a co-teacher assigned to each group. In model 4, sometimes called parallel teaching, the same content is being taught in each group. In model 5, one group is pre-taught content or vocabulary to build background knowledge in preparation for an upcoming lesson, while the other group is learning alternative information. Similarly, in model 6, one group learns alternate information, while instruction for the other group is reinforced by reteaching previous instruction and material.
Model 7 is also known as station teaching, and it usually involves the 2 co-teachers both monitoring and teaching multiple groups of students in related material, concepts, or skills. And this model often has one group of students working independently on a related activity.
The next phase of the co-teaching cycle is coassessment, which is the collaborative process of collecting data on student performance to inform instructional decision-making. Honigsfeld and Dove tell us that coassessment is critical in determining how well students have performed in order to plan the necessary language and content learning targets to help all students meet grade level expectations. True co-assessing also allows for both teachers to have ownership over the assessments and the shared goals. Similar to the co-teaching cycle, there are 4 steps to the co-assessment cycle: co-plan, co-collect, co-analyze, and co-reflect. Co-assessing provides a unique opportunity for co-teachers to discuss assessment and grading practices, to share assessment responsibilities, and to collaborate on ways to differentiate assessments based on learner needs. Co-assessing can be facilitated by using tools such as the one pictured here, titled the 5-Step Protocol for Co-Assessment of Student Learning, from Co-Teaching for English Learners by Dove and Honigsfeld. This provides a step-by-step guide to assessing, as well as key considerations for co-teachers to incorporate during this phase of the co-teaching cycle.
Reflection is a part of every good teacher's process, and co-reflection between co-teachers is just as important. One part of the reflection is purposefully communicating and checking in along the way. When Kelley and I collaborate, we co-reflect on a regular basis. As co-teachers, considering adding a place in your lesson plan where you can jot down reflections as a team each week. Add it to your meeting agenda so you don't forget about it. When reflecting, think about the goals that you set as a co-teaching partnership. Was your instruction and classroom practice in line with your goals? Take time to think about what students struggled. What more could you do for them? What about students who need a challenge? Did you miss an extension opportunity? In the co-teaching classroom, reflection that occurs with both teachers can be invaluable.
We recognize that implementing the shift to this desired level of collaborative partnership does not happen overnight. Researcher and author Michael Fullen proposed that there are 4 broad phases in the change process: initiation, implementation, continuation, and outcome. This theory is echoed in this visual that we're sharing now, which has more to do with understanding the dynamic between the co-teachers at different stages as their collaborative relationship evolves. But these phases of change will influence how the phases of the co-teaching cycle are implemented at any given point in a co-teaching partnership.
Now, this pyramid relates back to the stages of co-teaching we just saw and the dynamics between co-teachers in each of the co-teaching models. So on the left, we might call these ingredients to a successful collaboration: philosophical agreement, trust, time, planning, and comfort in curriculum knowledge. And they're hopefully on an ascending continuum as the collaborative partnership matures. As we travel upward on the co-teaching model pyramid on the right, we require a greater amounts of these ingredients on the left in order to support successful co-teaching. So we hope that as co-teaching partnerships evolve, these ingredients increase, enabling effective collaboration and yielding truly integrated support of Ls.
Although this is not an exact science, here we have the suggested time spent with each model in the classroom. This is really helpful to highlight how infrequently some of the models are meant to be used. As you can see, the larger pieces of the pie represent models in which the two teachers have the greatest parity, namely Model 4, which is the gray area, which is two groups with each teacher teaching the same content, also known as parallel teaching. Model 2, which is the orange slice of the pie, is one group with two teachers teaching the same content together, also known as teaming. And Model 7, the blue portion, is multiple groups with two teachers both leading instruction and student support. This is also called station teaching. To a somewhat lesser degree, we have models 5 and 6, in which we have two groups with one teacher either pre-teaching or reteaching content for a select group of students.
So the smaller pie pieces represent models in which there is a clear distinction in roles and one teacher is taking the lead while the other is in a more supportive role. This visual supports the notion that each decision should be very intentional. The choice to use one model over another evolves from careful consideration of several factors during the co-planning and co-reflection phases. There is a time, place, and purpose for each model, but the goal is to maximize the contributions of each teacher to the collaborative process.